Hello chess friends and welcome to Out of Chess channel and welcome back to the European Chess Club Cup in 2022. So we're now in the round 5 of this beautiful chess event and we're following now a beautiful game between the top grandmaster from Ukraine Anton Korobov and the world champion Magnus Carlsen. So Magnus is of course trying his goal. He's trying to get his 2900 rating points. He drew only in the first round, lost also some rating points, but now eventually with some consecutive wins Magnus Carlsen got his rating points back and also gained a couple of rating points, which is of course very good. I really would love to maybe Magnus Carlsen to reach his 2900 rating goal. For sure it would be, I think, a beautiful thing for the chess community. So this game is really spectacular because I think Anton Korobov played here interesting line and he challenged here Magnus Carlsen in a really beautiful positional way, but of course Magnus Carlsen himself is also a strong, beautiful positional player, so that's why I was really curious how he's going to handle this positional idea by Anton Korobov. So let's see now the game. It's Korobov versus Magnus Carlsen in a beautiful Colle System game. So here d4 was played by Korobov. We have knight f6 by Magnus. We have a knight f3. We have now the move d5. We have now the queen's pawns game. It's a symmetrical variation, so far nothing special is going on. We have now e3, so it's really a quiet approach here by Anton Korobov. This is now the so-called Colle System, and the idea is clear. We're playing in a fast development style. We're not playing the move c4 immediately. Of course we have still the flexibility to play c4, then knight to c3, maybe bishop to e2, bishop to d3, kingside castling, and okay, it's a quiet system. As I said, it's not maybe such a dynamic approach. It's not an aggressive line that white is choosing here. In the continuation we have now a6, and this is quite an interesting move also by Magnus, and Magnus played many times also against different systems. So maybe if you have followed Magnus Carlsen's career, he played many times the Janovsky against the Queen's Gambit client. For instance, if white would have played even the move c4, then the Janovsky is the move a6, which is really weird approach sometimes, but it's a beautiful idea because after potential c4 and d takes c4 you can get this extra tempo with b5, and then you play in sort of the Queen's Gambit accepted style with b5 and then followed with c5. So here in continuation we have now the move b3, and this move is of course the preparation to play really in a beautiful positional way. Bishop to b2 is then the idea, and then in the near future you could also try to play knight to e5 and then play in sort of Pillsbury attack style. You're trying knight to e5 and then you're trying maybe to get the goal f4, and then you cement the knight on e5, and then you play simply around this outpost piece, and then you're trying to launch maybe a flank attack on the king side. But here Magnus sensed already a positional sort of inaccuracy by white, because now when you play of course the move b3 you have taken actually the natural square for the queen. The queen will love to of course to come here on b3, because now bishop to f5 is a possibility. You see now queen to b3 is not an option. You cannot attack the b7 weakness. I'm telling you this because many times when you leave your protection of the b7, when you simply get out with your light square bishop in these types of structures, then you could get really this queen to b3 move, and then you could face many positional problems. So now comes this beautiful idea by Anton Korobov. He plays an interesting line, bishop to a3, and this is quite a spectacular positional move. Maybe you're not evaluated like I do, but I really love this choice by Korobov because he's waiting now Magnus Carlsen to play the move e6. Notice here when you place the move the bishop on b2, okay, this is a powerful piece. It's still developed, and of course it supports the potential outpost, as I said in the beginning, in sort of a Pillsbury attack style. You want to play a knight to e5, and then with the move f4 you're supporting further your knight. But actually when we think about this harder, when you go into these types of lines, then still your bishop is blocked out by its own pawn. So that's why here Anton Korobov's idea is to basically get out of this positional mess here, because the bishop is blocked out, and he's trying to get simply a bad piece for a good piece of Magnus Carlsen, because after e6, then of course after potential bishop to d6 by black would have really a powerful piece. So I think we have to really understand the common evaluations of minor pieces in these types of structures. So actually what, as I said, white is trying to do is give up a bad piece for his opponent's bad piece, a good piece here on f8. So here the continuation, we have now e6 by Magnus Carlsen, and here Magnus is almost like saying here to Korobov, show me what you got. I will trade it off. I will even lose the privilege of castling, but show me what you have prepared here in this types of lines. Really a beautiful idea here by Magnus Carlsen. It's almost like he's not scared to go into this wild battle against Anton Korobov. So here a more maybe solid game in the game is of course the move knight to d7, which is in my opinion perfectly fine. And look at this, for instance, if white breaks here with the move c4, actually black can even go here with the move c5. Notice there is a beautiful trap that I saw in the Colle system. For instance, if white plays now the move d takes c5, there is a stunning tactical shot that you can play here. Bishop to b1, rook takes b1, and look at this, queen to a5 simply wins the piece. So be careful when you playing with your bishop here in a3, because it can be sometimes a tactical problem. You see, you get this kind of a double attack and you could lose the game. So as I said, really already a weird position, a position that has never been played in chess history. So far Korobov played a theoretical novelty, and also Magnus' response here was quite original, I think. So in the continuation, after move e6, here Korobov simply took bishop to f8, and now Magnus plays king to f8, loses now the privilege of castling, and is trying now to launch a flank attack immediately with the support of the rook, with the support of these two minor pieces. Of course, also the knight will come into the game. So Magnus is now really challenging Anton Korobov in a wild way. So we have bishop to e2, knight to c6, kingside castling, and now immediately h5 here by Magnus Carlsen, launching a flank attack without thinking too much, just playing really in an aggressive style. So we have now c4. Anton Korobov is now finally trying to break through here on the queen side. We have now h4, and now in my opinion you have to play in one particular moment this kind of move h3. You shouldn't allow maybe black to proceed here with the move h3, then it weakens simply your light squares too much. Then you have to pass through with g3, then of course bishop to e4 could happen, attacking the g2 weakness. So it's really weird. So in my opinion, when you get attacked like this, you should really secure your position with a potential h3 move. But here Korobov continues his development, plays now knight to c3, and now Magnus plays now a beautiful outpost, because the problem is now you cannot actually take knight takes e4 here. Would be not a good continuation for white, because after d takes e4, now you have to step back, knight to d2, and look at this, the queen is coming into the game. The knight is not protecting anymore now the g5 square. Look at this, now in the near future h3 will happen. We can also play, I think, rook to h6, rook to g6, doubling up here on the g file. So it's really, in my opinion, maybe not a losing game here for white, but I think it would be an unpleasant game for sure. I would not really love to play this kind of game here from white's perspective. So that's why after move knight to e4, Korobov plays normal development. Rook to c1 is saying, okay, if you want to take out now the knight, I will activate just my rook, and also will have maybe a protection with my rook on the third rank here. So in the continuation, Magnus plays now maybe his first really inaccuracy, but this is just a stupid computer evaluation. We should not watch the game like this. What the Stockfish engine is saying all the time. I really love this move because it's a beautiful aggressive move, and this is human chess, you know. This is something that I think would bother me for sure if you play against Magnus Carlsen. Magnus plays a rook lift like rook to h6, and of course the idea is clear, he will play eventually rook to g6. So I will really not love to play now this game anymore from black's perspective, although this move, as I said, is evaluated as a tiny little inaccuracy by the Stockfish 15 engine. The Stockfish engine doesn't like this move, but that's the beauty, as I said, about human chess. Sometimes Magnus Carlsen can allow him at least to make such a move, because this move is really spicing up the game. So here again, Korobov has the opportunity to play the move h3. Also, instead of this move rook to h6, for instance, what the Stockfish engine is suggesting is to play the move h3, but this is really a common move. As we said, we have to break the position in like this. For instance, you pass through here with the move g3, then we take out the knight, rook takes c3, and now we centralize the bishop here with e4, and now as we said, we can even maybe include in the near future the queen into the game, and maybe we can also push the pawn further with g5 and g4. So here in the continuation, as we said, rook to h6, and again Korobov, in my opinion, has to play now the move h3. You have to stop this potential progress of blacks. You should not allow black to do this move, but unfortunately he played now c takes d5. Still nothing lost, because still he has the opportunity opportunity to play h3, but now again he played a different line. Again, in my opinion, h3 much better positional move here for white. But okay, he challenged here Magnus Carlsen with the move knight to d2. Magnus Carlsen played knight to c3, rook takes c3, and now queen to d6. Notice after this move c takes d5 that Korobov played instead of this move h3. Basically here Korobov opened also some files and diagonals, and also some spaces for this other rook to come into the game. So that's why, in my opinion, he should not have opened here this position. He should have just played this positional move h3. But okay, the queen is coming into the game now by Magnus Carlsen. The rook will come now into the game. This is really dangerous attack now by the world champion. So queen to c1 was played by Anton Korobov. We have rook to e8, so the rook is coming now finally into the game. Bishop to f3, we have rook to e7, and now a weird move here by Anton Korobov, rook to c5. And this rook move actually is bad because the rook is trapped now. The rook can be attacked now by this knight, by the bishop, and also by the pawn. So the problem is now actually the rook doesn't have any more good squares. A better idea is simply here to play again h3. Maybe it's perfectly fine, or you just play queen to d1. You're creating some spaces now for the rook, because after rook to c5, the problem is now knight to b4 was Magnus Carlsen's continuation. And notice now there are no good squares. That's the beauty also about the move by Magnus Carlsen, rook to e7. He protected now his pawn on c7, and now the threat is of course knight to d3 or knight takes a2. And you see now the rook doesn't have any more good squares from this point on. It's a one-way ticket here for black. So in the continuation, Korobov tried a tactical shot, knight to c4. Of course, if you take, then you lose also the bishop, but it's just a desperate try. It's nothing special. Magnus Carlsen doesn't have to react, of course. He has other opportunities. That's why he played first queen to e6, protects now his bishop on f5, and also gets out of this range of the knight. And still the rook is really weird, and now you have to still move the knight, so it's not a good continuation here for Korobov. So we have now knight to b2. If you are going at least into this kind of lines, you have to at least play knight to e5. At least you're centralizing the knight, but okay, you lose eventually also the pawn, but that's not the point. Here in the continuation we can play maybe f6, but at least Korobov should have played more aggressive with the knight. He retreated here to b2, and now Magnus Carlsen has of course this one. He has h3. h3 was many times the opportunity for Korobov to defend. He didn't play that. Now he has to play g3, and now Magnus Carlsen simply grabs the pawn and has now a completely winning game. So here queen to d2, bishop to e4. So as promised, Magnus is attacking simply the weaknesses. He wants of course to sneak in with the queen here and maybe even deliver checkmate with the queen, and of course this annoying pawn on h3. So we have now bishop to e2, Korobov retreats. We have b6, kicking away the rook, and now knight to a4. You see again sort of a desperate try here by Korobov, because the rook doesn't have any good squares. In my opinion, you can even take b takes c5 is perfectly fine, but Magnus Carlsen didn't want to risk maybe this kind of move. This wasn't played in the game, but actually if you don't want to complicate things too much, this would be also perfectly fine continuation here for black. But Magnus Carlsen of course played the most aggressive move, the best move. He played simply bishop to h7, and this is really stunning because the knight is hanging. But look at this, what happens if you for instance take out the knight on a2. Then we have this idea, queen to e4. Now you have to play f3. Now we play this one, and it's simply game over. You have to now play of course rook to f2, protecting now the bishop on e2, and but of course still, as I said, the rook is hanging, so it's not a good line here for white. So after move bishop to h7, we have rook to e1 by Anton Korobov, but now Magnus plays again on the same idea, queen to e4. We have f3, queen takes e3, queen takes e3, rook takes e3. Here Magnus is playing the game like a machine. Rook to e3. The bishop is now also paralyzed because the rook is always stuck to the defense of the bishop here. So here we have rook to c7, but it doesn't matter. Now Magnus creates this beautiful battery on the e file, and you cannot protect anymore the bishop on e2. You cannot include the rook into the game. Now the only way to defend this bishop for least for a while is just to play king to f2, but it doesn't matter. Bishop to d3 is now the forced winning line. We have bishop takes d3, rook takes e1. Now the exchange is lost. We have now g4 by Korobov, and of course knight to b4, simply regrouping now by Magnus Carlsen getting the pieces back into shape, and here it's basically game over for white. So we have bishop to f5, we have a check, king to g3, rook to d6. The rook is staying now on the 6th rank. This is very important because, for instance, if you try something like king takes h3, then you have this one g6. The bishop is also a little bit loose. You can also play rook to h6. It's quite annoying also to handle. So many beautiful ideas here for black. So after move rook to d6, we have a rook to b7 by Korobov. He's trying to at least grab maybe the pawn on b6, but now Magnus plays again this idea, g6, kick away the bishop, bishop to d7, and now after move g5 in this position, Anton Korobov resigns. So why did he resign? Let's see possible continuation. For instance, you play this one, rook to king takes h3, then you get this checkmate sequence, rook to h6. You have to step back, and now after rook to h2, you're threatening here. You probably get checkmated here on g2. So you have to play something like rook to b8. It just prolongs the game. Even if you play f4, then you have this one, and also after this one, rook to f2 is going to happen. Now after this one, g takes f4 leads into beautiful checkmate sequence. So really wild stuff here by Magnus Carlsen. So let's go back. After move, instead of this move king to h3, you could maybe play f4 immediately, trying to get some breathing spaces for the king, but now we simply take and now also include the knight into the game. For instance, you could fall for this, you can maybe get this kind of a checkmate with rook to e3. So really stunning game. Amazing. I would not call it in opening theory. I think this is pure intuition by Magnus Carlsen, what he did here after move bishop to a3. Maybe somewhere Magnus Carlsen has this prepared, but playing e6 here in this position is really wild. In my opinion, this was a monstrous positional or maybe anti-positional move by the world champion, but it was a surprise element for sure. I'm sure that Korobov didn't expect that. Maybe he expected more solid lines with, as I said, knight to d7, c5, and similar stuff. But here Magnus played a beautiful theoretical novelty, let's call it like this, move e6. So okay, a great game by Magnus Carlsen. So he gained also now some rating points. So far in the tournament he got 3.5 points. So with the first draw he lost some rating points, but now he gained some points back because he won also 3 games. So I hope he can get his rating goal, his 2900 rating. So we'll see what will happen. I wish him, of course, all of the best. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. Really wild stuff of the Colle System, really interesting ideas for sure. If you want to see more Magnus Carlsen games and also some other common to chess games, check out our common chess games series. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.